Mason Lange, Kevin Huang, this is going to be our first match. Don't forget, as soon as this game is over, we're going to bring it back to the booth. We'll ask that 3-month trivia question. I'll actually have it for you, and chances are, just so that you know, it's probably about mono green aggro. So I'd get that deck list ready.
Yeah, play versus draw is a critical piece of this matchup because it's very likely Mason can empty out his hand on the play before Lifebane Zombie enters play. On the draw, of course, that's much harder.
Well, we'll see if either player is going to take them all. You see they're going to look at their opening hands here. And if you guys are just joining us, we do appreciate you. See if Mason's going to play Forest and pass the turn back. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, we are in the quarterfinals here in Milwaukee.
We've had some really exciting crowds in these feature match areas.
That's cool with me.
There's a lot of energy in the pit, which I like.
Hey, this is some people just loving to play Magic. That's the way it should be. Kevin just going to pass the turn back. No thoughts he's here for him. We'll see if Mason has a Burning Emissary turn. It looks like he might. He's just going to play a Colonian Tusker and pass the turn back. We'll see if this is going to live or die.
And it's really important for Mason to also have Burning Emissary because he needs to get out in front of Kevin's removal spells.
Absolutely. Maybe Devour Flesh is going to happen now. It's pretty important, actually, for Kevin to Devour Flesh now. Main reason for that, of course, is a Mutavault, but he's going to go with a Pack Rat, a card that, you know, I'm not sure how much Mono Green actually cares about this card. I think that's really interesting.
Oh, Mason can overpower a Pack Rat for sure. I mean, it's not as good as, you know, it's better here than it is against a deck like Mono Red because there's no shocks, but Mason could put a lot of really powerful creatures into play.
2 Burning Emissaries and a Slaughterhorn. This is that. This is what you're talking about with all the powerful creatures.
Yeah, and this is what I was also talking about, the critical part of being on the play. Mason can actually get his hand empty before Lifebane Zombie is a factor.
Yep.
On the draw, that's much harder.
So just a couple of creatures there after attack for 3. Pack Rat's pretty good. I don't know if it's that good, though. Here's Lifebane Zombie. Take a look, and you missed. A Mending Touch in a Forest.
Yeah.
Kevin, are you kidding? I missed?
I would have cast that Devour Flesh on turn, too.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I understand the charm of Pack Rat. You're playing against a monocolored creature deck. They can't kill it. You're used to this taking the game, but Mason can deploy a lot of 3 power creatures and 2 toughness creatures that are more challenging for Pack Rat to block or overwhelm favorably.
Mason going to play a Forest. He's going to get into the red zone here, actually leaving back Mutavault on defense. It looks like he's going to fire that up, too, so everybody's getting into the red zone here. A string attack. That's what we call
that's
that.
a string attack.
Yeah, it's definitely a string attack. So what's the best way to block when you know your opponent has a Mending Touch in hand? The answer is there aren't really many good blocks. Pack Rat can't really do anything right now.
Yeah, and that's the issue here. He's just behind. Kevin is just behind the 8 ball, and he's going to be in mono black land of 1 spell a turn, and Mason's way out in front of the board right now.
Again, we saw a lot of players moving towards hyper-aggressive decks like this in the Invitational last weekend in Charlotte, but it was mono-red and mono-black, or if you're a Kent Catter, you took a black-red approach. You see Mason Lange is taking the green-red approach here, and it's been working out fantastic for him all weekend long. X and 1 throughout the Swiss, and he's in a very nice board position right here.
Yeah, the Devour Flesh versus Pack Rat turn makes this game look so much different. Kevin's taking a lot of extra damage, and again, Pack Rat isn't even close to keeping up with this board right now.
And let's not forget, Lifebane Zombie is going to trade with a Mending Touch. Yeah, that's all it does. And then there's Experiment 1, pass the turn back. Mason Lange is all in, but all in is actually a pretty good spot to be in. You see Hero's Downfall drawn here for Kevin, but as you mentioned, he's in 1 spell of territory range. That's the issue. Now, if he can start casting 2 spells in a turn, we're looking at a much different game, but we don't know if he's going to be able to do that, as Lange is just going to untap and get in there with everybody. Why bother untapping when you can just keep attacking?
Yeah, repeat the last turn. That's what I would like to do.
I'm sure he would love to evolve Experiment 1, but he doesn't get to do that.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, that's fine.
And here's the thing, even if Pack Rat does try to block Experiment 1, Kevin almost certainly needs to make another Pack Rat token, and then the 1/1 Experiment 1 will still trade regardless.
So there's Pack Rat in front of Experiment 1. We're probably going to see a Hero's Downfall on the 3 power creature. Not sure which one he wants to kill, but yeah, maybe is it Slaughterhorn? Is it you I want to kill? And it would still be
no
3,
more.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And just like that, Mason Lange with mono green aggro with a smile on his face is going to win game number 1 here of our quarterfinals.
And as lopsided as that was, I think Kevin might actually have a shot in that game if he Devour Flushes on turn 2. That Pack Rat did essentially nothing, and the additional damage that Mason was able to deal there on the 3rd and 4th turn, really critical in taking that first game.
Yeah, being on the play, also pretty big there.
Oh, yeah.
It is trivia time as usual here, so I'm going to let Patrick explain the rules for our 3-month question.
So Cedric is going to ask you a question, presumably about this mono green aggro deck.
Maybe.
You will tweet your answer at SCG Live, hashtag SCG Premium. Of the correct responders, one will be selected at random for 3 free months of Star City Games Premium. It is not about speed, but rather accuracy, so don't worry about submitting your question first, just correctly.
All right, my friends, it is about Mason Lange's mono green deck, as this is really the talk of the tournament thus far. He's got a bunch of different creatures, up to and including Slaughterhorn. Sure, why not? But there is a one of spell in his deck. That is not Nylea Godadon. If you can name the one of spell in his deck to go along with those 2 copies of Mending Touch, hashtag your answer on Twitter, the hashtag of SCG Premium. Make sure you're following at SCG Live. And again, we'll announce the winner at the conclusion of our quarterfinals here, where Mason Lange is up a game, and it only took him about 4 or 5 turns to do so.
It's pretty fast.
He doesn't really mess around here. We'll take a look at the sideboards. We are going to start here with Kevin Huang, and I will take a look at that. I'll save the fun for you with the mono green side. You've got a Bile Blight, 3 Dark Betrayals, 3 Doomblades, 2 Freakish Cures, a Whip of Erebos, 2 Erebos God of the Dead, and 3 copies of Duress. Actually, a lot of nice options here for Kevin. He just gets to bring in a bunch more removal. A Bile Blight, 3 Doomblades, 2 Freakish Cures. I think those are easy to bring in. That's 6, and then you can make an argument for Whip of Erebos as the 7th.
I like Whip of Erebos in this matchup too. Although it's possible that Kevin's game plan is just kill everything you play, there's no real risk of him getting burned out. So maybe Whip is not appropriate for the matchup. We'll see. I think it's close. The other removal spells are quite good here, of course, but critically, no copy of Drown in Sorrow. That's not an easy card for Mason's deck to beat. A lot of 2-toughness creatures, not present in Kevin's list, which is, again, fairly fortunate for Mason. His side, he's got 3 Dry Militants, 4 Mistcutter Hydras, 4 Nylea's Disciples, a Scavenging Ooze, 2 Mending Touches, and a Bramble Crush. I like bringing in the Dry Militants here, as Mason needs, I believe, to be just as aggressive as possible, and the 2 Mending Touches as well.
Yeah, I love Mending Touch in this matchup. It just lets you trade with like a Hero's Downfall. It'll let you trade with, a Lifebane Zombies was on the last game. It's a 1-mana answer to the cards that are actually going to mess you up. Yeah, sure, it can't take care of a card like Devour Flesh, but other than that, you're actually pretty good to go. There's only 1 Bile Blight looming here in the sideboard for Kevin's deck. He does have 1 Bile Blight in his main, so that'll get some work done. But overall, I think that Mending Touch plays a huge role here in this matchup.
I'm curious to see what Mason is going to sideboard out. If I was in his seat, I would not want Reverend Hunter in my deck.
Me too.
It is pretty easy for Kevin to answer with a variety of removal spells. It's also imminently Lifebane zombieable, as it's a little bit on the slower side. So I like trying to get underneath the Mono Black Devotion list, especially in the world where you don't have to worry about Drown in Sorrow out of their deck. So I like the Dry Militants to be lower to the ground, and I like the 2 Mending Touches to trade with removal. Also, Mending Touch in replace of Reverend Hunter is really nice because it's another piece of insurance against Lifebane Zombie. That's the card that Mason primarily has to concern himself with. The lower to the ground he can be, the faster he can empty his hand, the more he can take the sting out of Lifebane Zombie, exactly like we saw in the first game where he was able to play out his entire hand before Lifebane Zombie was an issue.
That's got to be his goal every time, right? Just get the grip onto the board as fast as you can. When you cast Lifebane Zombie, you hit something that's either A, not relevant, or B, you get nothing at all, which you saw in the first game. So for Mason Lange, it's a little bit more difficult to do since he's on the draw this go-around, but when he's on the play, he's got to get that hand empty right away.
Yeah. I mean, on the play, it's almost impossible. Unless there's something wrong with Mason's hand or he has an insane Burning Tree Emissary draw. Lifebane Zombie's almost certain to be good against him when Kevin's on the play.
Let's not forget, for you guys who are just joining us right now, too, for Mason Lange's deck, his Mono Green Aggro deck, he went 9-1 in the Swiss. He's up a game right now against Mono Black Devotion, one of the, or arguably the best deck in the format. And if you want to find out more about his choices, of course, you can go to our coverage page, check out the deck tech that was done with him and Nick Miller in the sideboard. Should be updated for you guys either right now or shortly, but you definitely want to check this out because this deck is, It came out of nowhere.
Oh, for sure.
Like, I can't imagine that these are the cards that I'm talking about. I'm talking about Experiment 1, Colonial Tusker, Slaughterhorn, Reverend Hunter. This is something that we normally see in round 1 or round 2 when they're playing against someone like Sam Blackrow in turn 1 and say, yeah, what they're doing is pretty adorable. But, oh, yeah, Sam won.
What's really the most meaningful takeaway from Mason's list, I think, and what I like the most about it, Sylvan Caryatid is not an effective blocker. Sylvan Caryatid is such a critical piece for various monster strategies to blunt an early offense. Mason comes equipped with a lot of 3-power creatures for 2 mana and some pump spells as well for some of his smaller stuff. Other things that can't attack through Sylvan Caryatid, we're looking at Burning Tree Emissary, which is so powerful that he essentially can't not play it, and Elvish Mystic, which has another duty. So the rest of the creatures are all 3-power plus, and so he doesn't have to concern himself with Sylvan Caryatid in the same way that many other attacking decks do.
Experiment 1 going to get the party started here for Lange. You saw Huang just play a copy of Temple Deceit and Scry. He did pick up a Thoughtseize for the turn. We'll see if he wants to fire this off or if he just has a removal spell here for Experiment 1. You see a Doomblade in the grip. One of the things here for Kevin, he has to really figure out how to sequence his spells. You know that Mason has figured out how to do that coming into this tournament. It really puts the onus on the opponent to figure out exactly what he's up to and how to sequence their spells, because this has to be uncomfortable territory for the opponent.
Oh, I mean, this is the first time almost certainly that Kevin's played against this particular mixture of cards.
Yeah. Scavenging Ooze is going to be resolved here. Experiment 1's Evolution will be placed on the stack. We'll see if Kevin wants to use Doomblade, and if he does, on which creature. Both of these are worth killing, I think.
Yeah. I like getting rid of the Experiment 1 here, and Kevin agrees. It can a second counter, and then it becomes problematic to kill with removal, and you have a lot of ways to kill an Ooze, even if it grows.
There's a Thoughtseize. So here comes the grip. A couple more Mutavaults along with the Burning Tree Emissary, a Boon Satyr, and a Brush Strider. So 1 forest really turns that hand on.
Yeah. A lot of power here. Kevin, I think, is just trying to set the game up where Desecration Demon can take over, but Mason with a lot of power for mana in his hand, and Mutavault can also be a potentially effective tool against this demon as well.
Not too much of a surprise, that Brad Thiessen is up a game here over Bradley Brown. Mono Blue Devotion up a game over Niagara. He was the 2 seed, so we got to even play first.
Yeah, and like I said, that I believe is our most lopsided matchup in the quarterfinals.
I got to agree with you. Thoughtseize is going to pick a card here. It's going to go with Boon Satyr. It's going to go with the real card, I guess you could say. You saw Mason point towards Brush Strider during retake, and here's Packrat.
Well, there's definitely an argument for taking Brush Strider. I mean, it's the only castable card in Mason's hand going into the turn. He did draw a second forest, which turns on a lot of his hand, but there was definitely an argument to take Brush Strider out of that hand.
Things we didn't think we were going to be saying on coverage today. Thoughtseize, take your Brush Strider. This is a Burning Tree Emissary. That is a Brush Strider. This is an attack for 2. Packrat obviously not going to block here, and Lange will pass the turn back. His deck will be put to the ultimate test right now, though, which I generally like, which is how good is your deck against Packrat?
Yeah, and Mason's got a lot of tools to fight through this thing.
How good is your deck against Desecration Demon?
Well, again, Mason's got a lot of tools in play, and he does have these Mutavaults that are also great at tapping that Desecration Demon.
Yeah. There's an Elvish Mystic. Probably going to see an activation of Mutavault here and be able to leave the green mana open. Trigger, sack, keep bashing. That's all he can do. Yeah, Brush Strider. Vigilance.
Vigilance.
My mistake. Will Packrat block the Brush Strider?
Have we been reduced to this?
We're joking about this, but you can't be too proud to make this trade, I don't think.
Yeah, what else are you doing with this Packrat? Are you going to try to get it to 4/4s to block Mason's Sea of Idiots? I don't know what else the plan is.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
Yeah, and it is going to trade here now. Scavenging Ooze before damage. We'll see if he wants to activate the Scavenging Ooze. Yeah, to eat the Mystic. So it's going to become a 3/3. So it's going to come across for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Packrat's going to trade with the Brush Strider. This gives Scavenging Ooze more fuel. And I wouldn't be surprised here if Mason is just going to say, hey, okay, on your turn, you can attack with Desecration Demon if you want. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin does have Whip of Erebos in hand, but...
And there's a Temple. The 5th land coming into play tapped here. There's a Grey Merchant over there as well, along with Whip, as you did mention. But you see, those are the last 2 cards in his hand, and Mason might actually be able to present, close to lethal this next turn. There's a Whip, so he's probably sacrificing right away. I think he's got to sacrifice Burning Tree Emissary.
Yeah, for sure. He can't allow the demon to hit here.
Quick on tap, take a draw. Not quite sure what he drew. It's a creature. It's a Colonial Tusker. This is going to allow him to play a Mutavault, activate a Mutavault, come in here for 5. Gonna put Kevin down to 4. Pass the turn back with the Mutavault at the ready or something else to sacrifice to Desecration Demon, because again, he can't let that thing attack.
Yeah, but I think this Grey Merchant might shift this game around.
Yeah, we're getting close to stabilizing. 5 mana, it's gonna be a gain and drain for 6. That's a lot. So Kevin's gonna move up to 10, Mason's gonna move down to 15, but he can still attack here pretty well. That's an Nylea, God of the Hunt. That is interesting.
Yeah, the problem is that, again, Mason cannot get hit by this Desecration Demon now that it has lifelink.
Yeah.
So he has to commit, at the minimum, leaving a mana up to activate Mutavault, unless he's willing to sacrifice one of the creatures that he has in play.
I wouldn't be surprised if he's okay sacrificing at this point Scavenging Ooze, because it provides the least amount of devotion.
I think that he's going to have to sacrifice so many creatures over the course of these couple turns, plus whatever removal spells that Kevin has at the ready here, that he can't afford to... I think this Nylea is just a dead draw.
Yeah, I mean, my thought process here is maybe if he sacrifices Scavenging Ooze and then is able to draw a double green creature the next turn, then he can actually get in and sacrifice Mutavaults and things of that nature. I think it involves him having to actually draw a creature that is double green, though.
Yeah.
And that's not the best thing to have to play to, but I think that may give him the best opportunity to win.
And if Kevin, well, the problem is if Kevin has any removal spell for the remaining creature, the whole thing gets blown up.
Yes.
It's a rock and a hard place certainly, but I think this is Mason's best line to try to win this game.
Scavenging Ooze is actually going to eat another creature here. It looks like Grey Merchant may have blocked. Now, this is favorable here for Kevin if it did, which it did not, because, of course, he could just go, okay, get it back with the Pavarabos, but he just let it through. So Kevin going to take a draw here. It's a Farika's Cure. He also drew a copy of Devour Flesh. And now 2 removal spells that he can play in 1 turn. That might be what does it.
Yeah, and additionally, now he has also the option, if Mason gets low enough where he can Devour Flesh, his Grey Merchant, get it back with Pavarabos and trigger it again.
Yep.
So the Devour Flesh is super flexible for Kevin for a variety of reasons.
Devour Flesh, one of the better cards in this mono black deck just due to its versatility. You always think it's just going to target them, but hey, he could even target himself and just gain 9 off a Desecration Demon if he wanted, just to stay alive.
And once you have Whip of Erebos in play, then it's really attractive to take those kind of lines.
So now it's up to Kevin to actually find the right line of play because, in my opinion, I think he's got the cards to win. He just has to figure out how to use them, and it looks like he's going to call over a judge and ask a question, maybe wondering, can I Devour Flesh myself and then get the thing back with Whip and all these other things. So wants to make sure he doesn't make a mistake because if we're in a crucial point in this game.
Yeah, this is, I mean, like we've said, the game is definitely shifted in Kevin's favor, but there is some danger here. If that Scavenging Ooze is something Kevin can't kill right now, there's still cause for concern. He's not out of the woods just yet.
And so you see Mason's going to rub his hands together and wait patiently. I think he knows we're going to go to a 3rd game here in a little bit, but we're going to bring it back to the booth here for now.
The problem is that he's not asking a judge question if his hand's 2 lands.
That's,
and it's not clear that Mason has the ability to beat any spells at this point.
Yeah.
Every creature is really bad for him because it's just a life-laking threat. Every removal spell gets closer and closer to the point where Desecration Demon actually connects and then the game's end. So Mason definitely up against the ropes here. Not out of it just yet, but things are looking bad.
Yeah, things are looking really tough. Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan back here in the booth momentarily. We'll head back to the match once the judge call is resolved. But one thing that's really interesting that's going on here is you kind of actually see a lot of bystanders behind Kevin. And I know you guys can't see it at home, but there are a lot of people interested in watching this mono green deck in action.
Oh, this is a crowd.
So we do join. The judge question has been resolved, and we'll see exactly what Kevin was wondering as he's just going to pass the turn back because he knows the Desecration Demon is not going to get to attack Mutavault. It's going to get sacrificed. And there you do see Whip of Erebos, a card that has kind of slid out of mono black decks, but it's starting to work its way back in. We saw Turtenwald with some of those this weekend too.
Yeah, it's definitely powerful at this stage of the game. Unclear if it's actually better than simply having another removal spell or discard spell in the deck, but it is putting a lot of pressure on Mason to tap this Desecration Demon every turn.
Now, Mason knows he can't afford to get hit. That's a 10-10 Desecration Demon now. Not only would Kevin gain 10 life and go up to 16, but Mason would fall to 6.
Yeah.
Doesn't take much more after that. So Kevin waiting patiently here, trying to figure out exactly everything he should do because he does have a Farika's Cure in his hand, so we could very easily see him say attack with my Grey Merchant. Sure, you want to block with a 3/3, that's fine. Farika's Cure to finish it off, gain 2 life, get that thing off the table. I wouldn't be surprised actually if Mason blocked here because this attack looks a little strange. And Kevin's really unsure of himself. He wants to attack. What are the ramifications if I attack versus not attacking? If I attack and he doesn't block, what happens? Sure, I go up to 8, but is that good when I'm going to actually take some counter hits back?
Yeah, he does have to concern himself with Slaughterhorn potentially as well. So
there's a block immediately by the Tusker. Wing's going to go up to 8. So it looks like he may have gotten what he wanted. And here's the Cure. Finish that off. Now this would put Huang up to 10, so he's doing a beautiful job of stabilizing.
Again, he's just slowly squeezing away all of Mason's creatures as Mason is compelled to sack something every turn of that demon.
And again, this isn't too much of a surprise, given that Kevin was on the play. This matchup is entirely different depending on who is actually on the play versus the draw.
Right.
So the Nylea and the Grip to go along with, I believe, another copy of Scavenging Ooze. Mason going to start by attacking here for 5. He says just 5. Gonna take a look at the graveyard. There are a bunch of creatures down there, obviously, along with 2 of the 3 Mutavaults that Lange has drawn this game.
It's really interesting the contortions that the Scavenging Ooze is creating for Kevin's Whip as well.
That's true. That's really true.
Probably could have chump blocked one creature last turn if that Scavenging Ooze wasn't in play.
One of the better cards, causes a lot of trouble. See Lange deciding if he wants to deploy something now. Do I want to activate Scavenging Ooze before damage? Deal you 5, could deal you more than 5. Can still leave up Mutavault to actually sacrifice a creature to your Desecration Demon, but the Devour Flesh in Kevin's hand makes that very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, because of the removal spell in Kevin's hand, Mason almost certainly has to draw a creature this turn to keep his head above water.
I also like the spot that this puts, by casting Devour Flesh right now, I love the spot that this puts Huang in. It says before damage, cast Devour Flesh. Do you want to sacrifice Mutavault or do you want to sacrifice Scavenging Ooze? Either one I'm cool with. And so he's going to activate this. Lange's going to gain a little bit of life. It doesn't matter a ton. And as you mentioned, it's actually on Mason to draw a creature every turn now.
Yeah. And even then, it's not clear that he has enough to work with.
The fact that Scavenging Ooze is big, that definitely helps. There's the other Scavenging Ooze. Pass the turn back. That little baby Scavenging Ooze is going to be used for fodder, assuming that Huang does not draw a removal spell for it. This is attack step. Yep, sacrifice that. This is obviously okay.
That's also very good here.
Yeah, that might be lights out. There's a second Desecration Demon. Mason going to draw a card, and yeah, he's going to pick it up really fast. So Kevin Huang is going to tie it up here between him and Mason Lange. Mono Black Devotion versus Mono Green Aggro. They're going to move to a third one.
And not surprising, Kevin again on the play with so much removal in his deck post-board. Probably a pretty significant favorite to win that game. The real test is going to be right now.
Yeah. We're going to go to a third one in just a moment here, and this is where things get really interesting, and this is why seeding is so important and why I love this new rule.
Yeah.
You know, no die roll nonsense. You've had a beautiful tournament. You work your way up to the top. It's worth it.
You know, and I just love the incentive for people to actually play out their matches towards the end of the tournaments.
Me
You
too.
know, the more and more that Table 1 and Table 2 and Table 3 are actually playing rather than drawing, I think the better it is for people watching the tournament and watching the coverage and so forth. So I'm a big fan.
And this mono green deck on the play is mighty good.
Yeah, it really
Mighty good.
shifts the power of Lifebane Zombie, really shifts the power of Devour Flesh. There's a lot of cards in Kevin's deck that get substantially worse when he is on the draw in this matchup.
We'll see what Mason Lange can put together for game number 3. Being told right now as well that the deck tech with Mason is up on our coverage page right now. So if you guys want to check that out after this match, I would encourage you to do so. He seems like a pretty fun guy. I haven't got to talk to him this weekend, but you can tell he's having some fun here with his Batman shirt and his green deck.
Yeah, I chatted with him briefly. He's having a ball.
Yeah, it'd be hard not to.
Right.
Slaughter hoarding people out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
It seems like an absolute blast. Again, in some of our other matches here, Brad Thiessen has won game number 1 over Bradley Brown, so Mono Blue Devotion is up a game over Naya Aggro. The winner of that match will play the winner of this match. On the other side of the bracket, that is where the Revelation decks do hide. You've got Rob Liska still in game 1 against Jarrett Roca, Red White Burn versus Esper. If that match is still in game 1, that probably favors the Esper player.
Most likely.
And then you've got Adrian Sullivan playing Blue-White against Eric Hawkins. That's our backup match. We'll be heading to that after this, and that one is also still in game 1. Blue-White versus Jund Monsters.
So it looks like Mason's going back to the sideboard here. I think he's taking out the Nylea and bringing in a Bramble Crush.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Yeah, just get him.
Yeah. An expensive Stone Rain.
Sure.
I like it.
Can kill a whip too.
You can do that. I think that is just going to be used as a 4-mana Stone Rain in this matchup, which is fine.
Oh, and furthermore, there's also just an incentive on Mason's side of the table to remove creatures if they're inefficient for spells because of Lifebane Zombie. All other things being equal, he should be trying to cut those 3 or 4 mana creatures out of his deck because Lifebane is just so well suited to fight those threats.
So I generally enjoy, I have a Twitter here. I'm wondering if, is it just me or is Mason a long-lost friend of Jerry Thompson?
There's some resemblance.
There's a little bit of Jerry
There's
T
a
there.
little resemblance.
Yeah. Not as much angst. There's
Right.
a little resemblance.
Like a more self-actualized Jerry Thompson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that Mason has better hair than Jerry, though.
Well, I mean, you can't say Jerry's hair like it's one thing. That went through so many stages.
Did go through a lot of phases.
Yeah.
But here's the real question. Would Mason wear a dress out of the Open Series like Jerry did?
Well, I don't know him well enough to say.
Yeah. Would Mason lose a bet to Brad Nelson and wear a dress at the Open Series? That's the true test.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. Mason does have the look of someone who would do a potentially humiliating public prop bet. I've done them myself. I know the type of people you get involved in. He has the look. You don't flash your cards to the camera that often unless you're, a showman.
That's true. That's true. I gotta say, I'm a fan of the Batman shirt. Mostly because the turquoise.
Oh, I like
Really sets
like
it
the
off.
I like the classic.
You just want the black, yellow,
Yeah.
black?
Yeah,
You are a man of classics.
it is true.
That's true. And that's not anything I know. I like that new hotness.
Nah.
That's where I'm at. Plus, he's got to represent the, it's not exactly a green shirt, but, he's got to wear a green shirt with his mono green deck.
Well, that's not even. That's a blue shirt.
I said it's not exactly green.
But it's a different color
It's
that's in Magic.
Turquoise.
It's a blue shirt.
There's a shade of green mixed with blue. That's what I would say that is. It's just a great color. Take a look at opening hands. Will Lange keep his 7? Nope.
Nope. That was fast.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, in the first time that we covered Mason, we played against Blue-White Control, which we thought was his win in a match, but he actually had to win again, which he obviously did. He mulliganed to 6 against Blue-White and handily won.
Well, it's a little bit worse in this matchup because the blue-white deck is still on Supreme Verdict or Bust, even if Mason mulligans once. They're unlikely to be able to just keep up with spot removal and counterspells. In this matchup, Kevin's equipped with so much one-for-one removal that it really magnifies all the mulligans that Mason takes.
Quick update for you guys here. Adrian Sullivan with Blue-White Control wins game 1 over Eric Hawkins and John Monsters. Now, of course, things do get more difficult for Adrian after sideboard, so not too surprising to see him win game 1. I guess the only real surprise here is that Adrian was the 5 seed, so he was on the draw. But able to take it down. And he's going to 5. Kevin with a little fist pump here, knowing that he may have gotten himself out of trouble. That's a big fist pump. The little is gone. Now, that's a real fist pump.
A little early to be doing the end zone dance, I feel like, but still, Kevin's got to feel comfortable. If he's got any sort of reasonable hand, he should be a heavy favorite here.
He kept pretty fast.
Yeah.
So I didn't imagine that his hand's very reasonable. I don't think he kept a one-lander he's hoping to get there. So.
Still a little early.
Yeah. Nice little game of showmanship between these two players. Can Mason find a happy 5? That's the question.
I love all the people on the rail. That's my favorite thing about this. There's a lot of people invested in these elimination rounds.
Oh, boy. I don't think his hand has lands. Now Kevin is audibly laughing
Yeah.
at his good fortunes.
Yeah, I mean, this is horrible for Mason, obviously.
You can't keep a no-lander, I promise. I think he's considering keeping a no-lander. What would be the perfect 4?
Experiment 1, Forest, Brush Strider, Mutavault. I think that's the best 4-card hand he could come up with.
Can it be Experiment 1 Forest, Burning Tree, Brush Strider, draw Forest for his first turn?
I think he's still going to need a Mutavault. I mean, Kevin's deck just has too much removal.
Okay. All right.
If we're talking about draw steps, then that changes what the hand can look like. But I think
Fair enough.
the best 4-card hand, Experiment 1, Brush Strider, Forest, Mutavault.
Could it involve Elvish Mystic or no?
I think he needs just an individual threat that might be able to get out of, that might be able to get to another counter.
Okay.
And then it can fight a removal spell or, what have you.
He's going down to 4, so that's what it's going to take.
An unfortunate end of the tournament here for Mason if it
not over.
goes out like this.
It's not over.
It is not over, but
This mono green deck can do anything. 2, 3.
that's
There's
a
at least
forest. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, there's a couple of forces. You have a 1-drop, he does not. We're underway. He's got a Colonial Tusker. There's a Temple of Deceit. Pass the turn back. Here's a draw. He's got a Mending Touch, too. It's protect the Tusker. That's the plan.
It's just me and you.
Yeah. He'll untap. He's going to take a draw. Please don't have Devour Flesh is what he's thinking. Nope. Try again. There's a Ranger Skyle. Get you for
all
4.
right.
Yep.
We're still doing this.
It's me and you, Tusker. Let's go the distance.
Probably just want to main phase that Doom Blade, not get too fancy.
Devour Flesh the draw. That'll make things a little bit more difficult. Unless Mason spikes a Mutavault. Take a draw. That's a Forest. This is an attack. That's a Devour Flesh. So that's going to bite the dust. Follow-up is Scavenging Ooze. Okay.
All right.
All right. Kevin going to untap. He's going to draw. He's got a Doom Blade. He's got a Lifebane Zombie. He's got a Pharika's Cure.
No 4th land.
And Scavenging Ooze went to a 3/3 right away. Gotcha. Just going to pass the turn back. Take a draw. Mending Cure can actually protect. There's a Mutavault. Yeah.
Keep it
Having touched
going.
that, yep.
Keep it going.
Here's the thing about removal spells. Instants don't have to be casted instants.
Right. It's not a mandatory rule.
Yeah.
You can cast it whenever you want.
Kevin can't really bemoan his bad luck because he's choosing to play his cards this way.
Yes. It's really unlucky that I did that.
Yeah. Here's Lifebane Zombie. I have no cards in my hand.
Really good against the opponent who Mason played around this Lifebane Zombie by mulliganing to 4 pretty effectively.
I think he just peeled Nylea. Maybe not.
I think it might have been an experiment Uno.
Here's an attack. Just rocks his shoulders and says, yep, let's get in there.
I mean, if he's got Slaughterhorn, this is not bad. It's not clear Kevin can kill this experiment one.
Got a pack rat in his hand, does Kevin. He's just going to take the damage.
Woohoo!
What's this? Experiment one pass. That's surprising. Kevin draws a Mutavault, so now he has land number 4 to cast Desecration Demon. That's what he will cast. So he's going to play that and pass the turn back. Yep, that's it. Mason's going to take a draw. He can't afford to draw any lands. He has to draw a spell every single turn of the game.
Yeah. Although, what is nice about this whole setup that Mason's going through right now is he can sacrifice a creature, tap the Desecration Demon. He then has something else to pump his Scavenging Ooze, and so there's a little bit of game here.
Sacrifice that. Into the red zone.
This is incredibly bleak for Mason, obviously, but to his credit, he is doing what he can.
Yeah, I will say that he's done everything to give himself the best chance to win. That's honestly all that you can ask for.
Yeah.
Given that he's on a mulligan to 4, he's doing everything he can to give himself the best chance to win.
Yeah. It's all you can really ask for.
It's going to be an ooze activation. So this attack is going to be for 4, 5, 6. Huang's going to go down to 5. Can you imagine if Mason was on 7 cards?
Yeah, are you kidding me?
Huang going to draw. Got another Desecration Demon over there. There's a Swamp. This allows him to play Pack Rat and discard a card if he wants to as well.
And right now, all Kevin really needs is just blockers.
Yep, that's it. There's no reach in that green deck.
Yeah, even like Breeding Pit would be good right now.
Yeah.
You know, he just needs things that can block.
Mason putting up one hell of a fight right now.
This is this is great. It's very likely Mason loses this game, but it is awesome watching him fight like this.
Yeah.
He could have just packed. He could have just tapped the mat here, but he's battling.
There's a Pack Rat. So, Mason, is he pumping the brakes? I think that's a pass of the turn. Looks like he may have drawn his 5th land.
Yeah.
So all I can do is pass. Now this is where things get bad. Now the pressure has been stopped.
Yeah, and it's not clear. Once Kevin gets out in front with Pack Rat, Mason's deck doesn't really have a way to catch up.
Quick update for you guys. Brad Thiessen with Mono Blue Devotion moving on to play the winner of this match, defeating Bradley Brown 2-1. Master of Waves does it again.
Well, even quite honestly, even Bradley even taking the match to 3 games is to his credit.
I agree.
I mean, it's a really tough matchup.
So what does Kevin want to do this turn again? He just needs to, I mean, he's in the driver's seat here. He just needs to not take any risks. Knows exactly what Mason 75 is and knows the cards that he has access to. There's nothing that can really come as a surprise here. Just needs to play it safe. Don't do anything too dumb, and he should be able to get the job done. He's got multiple Desecration Demons in his hand. He has a Pack Rat, which he can activate a bunch, which, given the situation, he's really far ahead with Pack Rat.
I mean, even in the event that Mason did something weird like sideboard and Mistcutter Hydra, Kevin has insurance against that in multiple different ways.
He's got all the information. I'll take a look at the graveyard here. A couple of creatures down there, just an experiment one, for Scavenging Ooze to grow.
I mean, the only actual way that Mason even has a theoretical chance out of this involves Nylea giving his team trample. And even then, you know, we're talking really slim stuff.
I think you're playing the situation is just make it rain demons. That's it. There's nothing that Mason can do about this. If he's sacrificing creatures, sure, he's pumping his Zeus, but he can't control the demons forever. And those demons hit hard and close the game out quickly.
Yeah.
I really think that's all Kevin needs to do here. So he does deploy one of the Desecration Demons. He doesn't get to attack with that one just yet. That does not have haste. It's got a lot of things. Doesn't have haste, though. Mason going to remove a couple creatures here from the graveyard, make Scavenging Ooze a little bit bigger, so he can try to tussle with those 6/6s.
And saying go there and sitting on defense is curious, too.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can just play this game more aggressive. I mean, he can also continue to play it pretty safe, but I also think he can just play the game more aggressive than he actually is. I think he can attack with that 7/7 Demon, for example. What's the worst that can happen?
Hard to imagine something going wrong here.
Yeah, again, this isn't a situation where, Mason is drawing to a card like Revenge of the Hunted, the Miracle card from Adversary Restored, and then there's some sort of, crazy blowout, or there's a card like Stonewood Invocation or anything like that. The information is public. Both players have each other's deck lists, so there is only there's a finite number of cards that Mason can have.
Right.
And none of them actually do anything that's really troublesome. As here's an attack for 7. So Mason's going to go down to 20 now. And there's another copy of Desecration Demon before passing the turn back. Yep, there's a Boon Satyr. So take a draw here. So that's a 4/5. That's a 4/8/9. That's a 10 power creature. 10/8.
Yep. But far too small.
Yeah. Doesn't be 2 Desecration Demons in combat, that's for sure. Mason going through the iteration, thinking, all right, what can I do to get myself out of this? I sure did give it one heck of a shot early in the game, but Kevin did a nice job of stabilizing.
Yeah, I mean, he's seeing what he can do here. I think Kevin's given him a little more rope than maybe was necessary. But it's just so hard to imagine Mason getting out of this jam. It's not even clear he can really profitably attack.
Enter a Burning Tree Emissary. Trigger's not going to do much, just has to pass the turn back. And yeah, he knows he's beat. He's going to extend the hand. Mason Lange with one heck of a run, but Kevin Lang is going to win this match 2-1. Mono Black Devotion is moving on to play against Brad Thiessen and Mono Blue Devotion tomorrow morning.
Well, congratulations to Mason. A great run, very cool deck, a lot of enthusiastic play on camera, and again, really battled there on that mulligan to 4. I mean, he did as well as he could given the circumstances. Nothing to be ashamed of. I'm sure he's a little frustrated right now, but that was a great fight he put up in that third game.